it was so ugly. It was just a week ago, right, against Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
But they put up a ton of yards, but
But that's the way the NFL is, D. You know it. I mean, week to week, you don't know what to expect, right?
Yeah, and that's why people love the NFL because it's so much parity. You know, it's just remarkable how Tennessee people were writing them off, and then they beat a decent Dallas team, and then they come out and they beat who we think is probably a favorites to win the Super Bowl in New England. It's just so much parity. You know, this Atlanta team I said scared me. They come out, thrash us, and get beat down by Cleveland. So it's so many different matchups and how each individual and player responds to that matchup. I mean, anything can happen, man. You might have a guy who's just been intimidated by a guy since they were in Pop Warner together, and he has to play against him, and he's just in his feelings as opposed to he might have another guy that he's whipped since Pop Warner as well, or whipped in college, and so he knows how to play that guy. It's just so many different variables, man, but that's what makes the NFL great because any given Sunday, anything can happen.
talk about the DB play. So obviously Josh has the huge interception.
Yeah, great catch, yeah.
I know as a fan when I watch, I get so frustrated when I see the DBs play 10, 12 yards off these guys. But I get it. I mean, Deshaun can take it to the house at any moment, so you want to keep him in front of you. And you know what? I guess essentially it worked. Don't get beat behind yourself, and then just make him nickel and dime you all day, and then maybe eventually he'll make a mistake. And that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of felt like that's the way they were playing. It was a couple of times where you were like, come on, man, it's 33. Get up and press.
Right.
You know, where you wanted to see these guys kind of play a little bit of football with them and get up there and mix up their looks. But, I mean, for the most part, these guys did play a lot of off coverage. But when you have dudes like Deshaun Jackson, who I'm sure our coaching staff let these guys know is extremely fast and can run, and I think Josh might have played against D-Jack a couple times before too. So, I mean, when you have guys who understand that guys have track speed, they tend to not want to play up on them that tight. I mean, if Tyreek Hill came in here, I think he'd get the same amount of respect as well. And you kind of live with knowing, look, we'll give some of that stuff up underneath because we ain't giving up nothing deep. And ultimately they were able, you know, by recognizing some formations to jump some routes, thinking about, you know, seeing Strowman jump that route, and Danny Johnson got beat on that route a couple times earlier in the game. And so just seeing how they kind of were able to make a little bit of adjustments, or even if that was Strowman watching from the sideline because he wasn't in playing, and seeing Danny Johnson get that look and seeing it later in the game, that's the kind of stuff you want to see your team continue to do and continue to grow into. And, I mean, those guys are playing lights-out football, man. I mean, you talk about not giving up one turnover by us as a offense and going out and getting four, causing got two of them, but you know also intercepted two balls. I mean that was huge, man. It was huge. Anytime you can get turnovers like that, your offense is not going to have to do much. You're going to have.
And do you mention Redskins side for the Skins' success is that Alex Smith is not turning the ball pick so far on the season. Was there a quarterback that you faced in your career that you were just like, I can't intercept this guy, I just can't do it for whatever reason? Just guys that you faced that you knew going into the game where they just weren't going to turn the ball over against you?
Well, I mean, for me it was Tom Brady. You know, he's the guy who I've never intercepted. I was able to I was able to get Peyton and all these other guys, Brett a couple times, but I was never able to get Tom Brady. And you know, part of that is, you know, you're right. He was so safe with the football at times that it made it hard to get it. And then he was just so accurate, you know, where, you know, Alex is just one of those guys. I can even remember playing him last year. You know, the coach is kind of making that coaching point. Look, if you're close, if you're just close in coverage, he's not gonna force the ball in there, or he's not gonna want to force a ball in there while you're covering tight. And so, you know, the guys kind of had it in their head that week of preparation. Look, I have to be tight on coverage. And so, you know, it's always something that guys have little quirks And, we kind of knew that about Alex, when we were facing him. And you're kind of seeing that now. Not saying it's good or bad, but you're right. He's going to be safe with the football, and he's going to protect it. And as a team who's playing this style of football, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better quarterback. Because if you had a guy who was taking risks and turning that football over, it would really make it difficult to win football games because we're killing guys at the turnover margin right now.